there, welcome to another thrifted video where I'm taking this dresser and converting it into something beautiful. So I picked this up at a thrift store for $60. It was a lot more than I typically pay. What I found is I was really bummed when I got it out to my car and I was loading it into my SUV. I noticed that it was actually incredibly beat up. I didn't see it in the thrift store. I didn't pull it out and look at it very detailed. Shame on me. So I overpaid and I knew I had my work cut out for me. So I had to sand it all down. This was a veneer piece of material. If you don't know the difference between laminate and veneer, make sure you check out this video and I will teach you exactly how you can tell the difference because it really does make a big difference. So I sanded it all down, used my leaf blower to get rid of some of the extra dust. I mean, what are you going to do? Here is when I knew that it was going to be a bigger project. So see these cracks on the side? They are massive, very, very deep. So my two options were to either replace that side material completely or use Bondo, like what I'm doing right here, to mix it up. It dries hard and it will fill in the cracks. So historically this has been for cars and like auto body kind of detail work, but you can use it for furniture as well. So you can pick this up at Lowe's, Home Depot, any of the big box stores. So here I am applying it, doing the best I could to get it into the cracks, and it's not going to be smooth yet because of course with Bondo, it's almost like a sheetrock material. I don't know if you've ever used any of that drywall spackling, but it has to dry completely and then you do need to sand it. So there was a crack on the top as well, so I had to do even more Bondo. And this stuff is super bad for your lungs. So if you do choose to follow this or you use it at all, make sure you're using a respirator like what I'm using. It is so worth it to protect your lungs. I'm trying to be better about that. When I do projects, I'm not always good, but it's important. So I'm just doing a thin layer here just to get it covered, make sure the cracks are not showing, and let it dry completely for a good, I did 24 hours just to be safe. Once that was done, I then sanded it smooth as I possibly could. If you over sand it, it's not really an issue because you can always add more Bondo. But if you under sand it, you're going to be able to see that crack big time, especially when you paint. So just make sure you get a very, very smooth surface. And I think I'm using about 120 grit on this. And again, my leaf blower to get the dust off of the dresser and off of me. Now, once that's all sanded, it's all smooth, it's ready to go. I'm using my favorite primer by Bin. This is the Bullseye Primer. And you just do a couple coats. Like it's super easy. There's nothing too crazy. It is a little watery. So if you've never used this before, just be aware of that. I'm just using a foam roller brush, not one of the kind with the fabricy naps. I don't prefer those. I actually really like the foam ones. And so I'm just giving this a good primer coat all over. I think I ended up doing a full 2 coats on this to make sure it was completely primed and ready to go for painting. So again, it takes a little bit of time. Your primer needs to dry about 15 to 20 minutes in between layers. It's really not too bad, kind of like paint. And then once it's ready to go, you're ready for paint. This is my favorite black paint I think I've ever used. So it's a color called Tricorn Black by Sherwin-Williams. I did this in a semi-gloss, and I actually would not recommend this because semi-gloss tends to be a little bit more shiny. It tends to be more protected. It's really great for some furniture projects, but if you have a piece of furniture that's kind of beat up like what I had and has a lot of nicks and it's just old and not perfect, it's going to show every single dent and imperfection. So just be aware of that. If I were to redo this again, I would probably go with an eggshell or a satin finish at the highest level of sheen. I would not do a semi-gloss or high gloss because, again, it just shows too much of the imperfections. Now, one of the things that I like to do when I'm painting is I always do a really, really good coat with the roller first, and then around the drawers, this is actually elevated a little bit. The boxes in the middle of the drawers were raised, and so I had to take a paintbrush and just go around there. So that's what you can see on the drawers. That's why they're not totally all painted, is because I was really getting into the nooks and crannies with my paintbrush first and foremost. So with paint, of course, you're going to have to do 2 coats. On the drawers, I actually needed to do 3 coats to make it even. I painted the legs and underneath of the dresser just to make it look a little bit more finished. Nothing too crazy here, but again, you really do have to do at least 2 coats. My issue that I messed up with on this is I didn't prime the legs. It turned out fine. I tested it, did like a little scratch test with my thumbnail, and it seemed to be okay. And then once I got this into my house to get ready to stage it, I noticed that the lighting changes, of course, when you do leaves a project out in your garage versus you bring it into your house. You just see little things. So I'm just doing some touch-ups here for some spots that were still showing through from the underlying color that I didn't want to be shown. So once that was completely dry, I put all the drawers back in. I staged it with my favorite little snake plant. Plants sell furniture, you guys. It really does. But here's what the after looks like. I sold it for $120. Not a huge profit margin because I overpaid for the dresser, but I was still so happy to get this out of my house that I was okay with it. And I learned a lot. I got to try some new techniques, and ultimately I still made a good profit. So I was okay with it all. But this was a fun furniture flip. If you did enjoy this, make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you for another fun furniture flip. Bye.